When it comes to off-roading, like side-by-sides and dirt bikes, that is something that is synonymous with the name Honda, but not so much in the automotive off-roading space. But that is beginning to change with the brand new 2023 Honda Pilot TrailSport. So right now we are driving the TrailSport up the first obstacle of the day. It's just a small rock ledge, so we'll creep up to it, feed in a little bit of power. We're in trail mode, and yeah, don't really feel like a whole lot of slipping. A little bit of skid plate action there, but that's what the skid plates are there for. Now the TrailSport only has about 8 inches of ground clearance, so not tons of ground clearance, and thankfully they have added a substantial skid plate under the engine and the transmission here because, again, it's not very high up off the ground. It is about an inch higher in its ride height than the standard Honda Pilot, but still only about 8 inches of ground clearance. And they also give you a recovery point here at the front, although I will say the recovery point is pretty difficult to get to. So if you're in a situation where you're stuck, that is likely not going to be something easy to reach. Now the fuel tank also has its own dedicated skid plate, so it's not just the engine and transmission, it's the fuel tank as well. And as you can see, it's a pretty substantial skid plate that they have under there. Honda claims that skid plate is rated to be able to handle twice this vehicle's GVWR crashing down onto that skid plate. Now we've got a slightly steeper and longer rock climb. It's pretty smooth, so no crazy angles, but it'll be a good test of traction on these all-terrain Continental tires. And luckily, no snow, even though it is winter here in Arizona. But yeah, I mean, for this kind of terrain, which is not super extreme, but it is more than probably your average person in a Subaru is going to hit. Making contact with the ground is, of course, as always, one of the most important aspects of any vehicle that's meant to be rugged, meant to go on a trail. And for this Pilot TrailSport, we've got these Continental Terrain Contact all-terrain tires. This is aggressive enough to get to a location like what you see us at here, do some trails, but they're not so aggressive that you can't drive them reasonably on the street as well. As part of the TrailSport trim, you also get these special TrailSport branded wheels, and you can see their logo right here. Actually pretty impressed here with the Pilot TrailSport. So Tommy did a trip out in Breck where they were doing some off-roading with a camouflaged prototype, and he was also impressed at actually how many obstacles and how difficult of obstacles they were putting these Pilots over. And same for today. On a lot of the events where we're driving rugged crossovers, it's usually a small dirt hill, and you know, this is not the most extreme off-roading that we've ever seen, but you know, we're pretty impressed with what they're putting us over here, and so far the Pilot really hasn't put a wheel wrong, which isn't too surprising because this is one of the trails that they claim they used to develop this TrailSport. So you would figure that it would probably do pretty well here, and it does seem to. And I can say with confidence, if your goal is to have a vehicle that can get you to a campsite, get you somewhere remote, this can 100% do that. Inside of the TrailSport, you get a really nice interior. Orange stitching, TrailSport branded seats, TrailSport branded floor mats, and you get a good amount of tech that lets you off-road just a little bit more comfortably. Now, Honda does a good job of making their touch points feel fairly premium. So the wheel is a nice material, the door handle is metal. There are certainly some cheap materials here and there, but generally the parts of the car that you interact with the most feel pretty good. Here we can see your drive mode selecting buttons, so you don't have a physical handle or anything that you can pull back, but That doesn't bother me as much as it bothers some of my coworkers. I think these buttons work just fine. You've also got your drive mode selector, as well as your auto stop, start, on-off switch, and hill descent control, which is also standard on this vehicle, as well as the CRV and the HRV. Now for drive modes, you have 7 options, everything from sport to normal, economy, snow, trail, sand, and tow. And towing is rated up to 5,000 pounds here on this new Pilot. But if we go into trail mode, you get a couple of really nice features. The main feature that you get being in trail mode is all of these different camera views that you can look through. So here we have a front view and we have a 360 view. You can expand and change how you're looking at that view. So even though we have this boxy, somewhat masculine hood line, you can still have a good view out of the front, and you can also select a side view here. Something else that we absolutely love is that this interior has hard buttons. This is not a screen. These are real physical controls with really nice feedback. All of these buttons look and feel good, and they function in a simple, easy manner. Up in the center console, you have a wireless phone charger big enough for my Mondo iPhone Pro Max. They also give you a little extra cubby above it that you can fit some small items like the key. And similar to the 2nd generation Pilot, you have a cubby here in the front of the dash so that you have more storage for easily accessible items. You also have a sunglasses holder with a little mirror so that you can spy on the kids. You have a large panoramic sunroof, and the front section, though small, does open up. Right now, I am taking advantage of the trail cam, doing a little bit of rock crawling, some light rock crawling, and it is nice to have that extra view. But I have to say, by far the most impressive part of this whole system is the all-wheel drive. A lot of all-wheel drive systems tell you that they're torque vectoring and they claim that they help you off-road, but this system, just like right then, you can really feel it. Wheels start spinning, but you stay in the throttle, and it sends power to where it needs to go. It's a really good all-wheel drive system, so this rear differential, it's able to receive as much as 70% of the torque in this powertrain, and it can send, Honda claims, up to 100% of that to either rear wheel. So this is more than just a brake-bias system. It's really impressive all-wheel drive, and it works well. In case either your front or rear trail camera gets muddy, gets dusty, there is a squirter for that camera to clean it off while you're going down the road. Around the back of this new TrailSport, you also have a recovery point at the hitch, and back here as well, you'll find a full-size spare tire, so if you get a flat while you're wheeling on the trail, you're not going to be stuck with a compact spare. The Pilot is, of course, a 3-row SUV, and in this TrailSport trim, it is a 7-seater. Now, in the other trims, you can get it as an 8-seat vehicle. However, because the TrailSport has that full-size spare tire in the rear, the folding center seat that would usually be here and then store underneath the cargo floor in the trunk, well, it's not here because that spare tire takes up too much of this space. So instead, TrailSport is a 7-seater. So right now, I'm doing a little test of the hill descent control. We've got a downhill section, and I hit the button, it went active, it's set to 2 miles per hour, and it's a good functional system. Sometimes these systems are really, really noisy, but this one is pretty quiet. Control, looks nice. Here on the side of this rock, you can see a couple skid plates that have been removed from one of Honda's prototype vehicles that they use to just figure out how durable the vehicle is, how durable the skid plates are. And these skid plates and the vehicle that it was on actually made their way up parts of Hell's Revenge in Moab, as well as Fins and Things, which is another trail that we commonly test trucks and SUVs on at TFL. And I mean, you can tell that these skid plates have seen some impacts. They've seen some rocks for sure, but despite some scrapes, they still look in pretty good shape. Makes sense. This is thick steel. Now, pulling off of the trail for a second, let's see on the road how this new Honda Pilot accelerates really not bad. This is a 3.5 liter V6, 285 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque, 10-speed automatic transmission. This is an updated V6 engine. It's dual overhead cam. It's a good overall powertrain, especially when paired to the all-wheel drive system that's here on this Pilot. And when it comes to driving on the street, it is exactly as you would expect. It's very quiet, very compliant, smooth ride. You can hear a little bit of that V6 screaming when you get out on the road. Not very fast, but plenty enough to move you along. I'm sure if you were towing a 5,000-pound trailer, it would feel pretty anemic. But when it's just motivating itself on down the road, it is perfectly adequate, and it's just an easy, good thing to drive on the street. Again, as you would expect. For fuel economy figures, you have 18 miles per gallon city, 23 miles per gallon highway, and 20 combined. So not a spectacular feature, but certainly better than your average Jeep or Bronco. Now, the all-new Pilot lineup starts at around $36,000, but if you want to get your hands on the more rugged TrailSport model, it's going to cost $48,350. So it is a good premium for that, but with it you get a lot that comes standard. You get heated seats, you get the heated steering wheel, you get the all-wheel drive system, and all of this rugged capability. So hopefully very soon in Colorado we will have one of these that we can test on some of our home trails to compare it to other vehicles that we've tested out in Colorado. Keep your eyes peeled for more videos coming on this very soon, hopefully a slip test with Tommy, and until then we'll catch you in the next video.